start the Alpine City Planning Commission meeting, Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. We have from Planning Commission with us Ethan Allen, Jeff Davis, myself, Jane Briner, and we will be having Troy Slade and possibly Alan McDonald soon before we get to any items that we need to have a vote on. So we are going to have an opening prayer by Ethan, and Jeff, will you do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Okay.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful that we can meet today, and we're thankful for the city that we live in and for the good citizens that we serve with, and we ask you to please bless us that we may be able to keep in mind the needs of those in the city, that we may be able to serve them well. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And we don't have any reports or presentations today, so we're going to start talking about the very first thing, which is the commercial building sign. You want to introduce that?
So we got another one of these. This is the first one we've got since we've made some of the adjustments that we talked about. So this one's a little different. You guys are the approving body on this now. So when we make our motion, it'll be for approval or, whatever else, table or deny or whatever is necessary. But you guys are the approving body now. So this is one, we approved the original sign back in January. It was called Blue, Blue, yeah. So let me show you. This is what they've changed the name again, so now it's called the WellPath Center. In our development code, this 325080 gives the standards and the requirements that they have to meet for that. I think there's like 11 of these. I narrowed it down to the ones that apply to this. So the ones that we're missing have to do for the standards for like a freestanding sign or lighting requirements, or if the sign's on a cloth awning, and this wasn't any of those. So I took all of those out just to make it a little easier for everybody. But these are the 6 that remain that the standard would still apply to. In reviewing this as staff, we found that it met all of these, but obviously it's a approval from the Planning Commission. So staff recommendation is obviously to review what's been submitted, and then make a approval or denial or table based on that. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty cut and dry. I can just go through this real quick. This is obviously what it looks like, the dimensions of it. They've got. This is something that's on it's a front door. We've never counted these as signs if they've got logos on the front door, so we didn't find it to be
So go back up to the outdoor sign picture. Okay, right there.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. That's what the sign looks like.
That's what it
looks like a
when
vinyl sign to me.
So it's a it'll have this metal and then just the
Is it vinyl letters on metal or painted letters on metal?
I don't know. The door is vinyl.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's
You don't want that sign to be vinyl though, or it won't.
Yeah, it might not last
Stay
too long.
attached. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
One question I have. When that orthodontic sign went up, I swear that sign was not represented that size in our meeting. How accurate are these depictions we're seeing of the sizes?
They should be, and Ethan could maybe jump on this more too, where it's his area of expertise, but they should be accurate. They should be exactly what they.
So it should be to scale compared to the doors, the windows, and everything else.
Yeah, and they do show.
The dimensions, but I don't know how that is compared to scale of the building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those dimensions, I have no idea. They could make it look tiny or huge on there.
Yeah. And as long as it falls within, like I said, if the dimensions are met and it falls within that 15% or 60 square feet that we have there,
Right.
That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's,
Well,
I don't know if
true,
this
but
is,
also like with this one is a big flat you know, like if that were white behind it, or, you know, it's just like a big flat sign compared to some other things we might not think it, even though size-wise, it might not fit other things.
Yeah, yeah. That's fair. Ethan, you guys usually, I think you've done a couple of these. Is it fairly accurate, as close as you can get? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, usually we're trying to match it up right to size, so.
Yeah, because they want it as big as possible.
Yeah.
Height-wise. Have you seen this brushed metal? Like, my concern is that it's just really stark.
I think so. I think it's kind of stark looking myself.
And like reflective. I mean, I don't know.
It's not going to be super reflective because it's been brushed over, so it won't shine,
Okay.
not like a mirror or anything.
They did say, it will be small, it's Blue Petal Foundation, that's the one that's there now. They say, it is smaller than what's there currently.
Really? I thought that was like a circle.
That we did do one recently that was kind of circle, I think it's at Glow.
That's not theirs, huh? Oh, this is a different one than I was
Yep.
thinking of.
Yeah,
Oh.
this one's on the very, we've got the dental ones kind of on
Yeah.
the corner, and then this is the very next one
Oh, okay.
to the west there.
Really?
It's
Because
like-
this picture, I can see grass next to it.
Yeah, this is the end. This is the end unit. So the dental one's here by itself. This is the next building, but it's on the end of the, I can show
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time imagining. That looks like the end building to me.
So this is, yeah, it is. This is the corner one. This is Alpine Dental and Pfeiffer Horn Dental, and
Uh-huh.
then this is,
Oh, I see.
this one right here, and they're just this end unit right here.
Oh, okay, all right. I was not thinking that there was anything constructed behind there yet,
Oh,
but I can see that there is from that picture. So I was assuming we were on the very first one.
and then I think Glow, and I don't remember what the other one is that we've done is right here in the same.
Can you check the Zoom meeting? Did you start the Zoom meeting?
No, we said if you
Okay.
needed it, send it out, but we
Okay,
didn't.
so did
no
you
one
get
said
the
it.
message from Alan?
No,
Okay.
no. Oh, there he is.
So I told Ethan maybe he could get on the Zoom meeting so we could actually do any action items. They both were thinking today was Monday.
Oh, fair.
Oh, Alan's. So I'm
So-
wondering if we should throw a Zoom meeting out and have them get on?
Yeah, so
Or,
most
or
of the
you want to
issues-
table these, but I'm sure the subdivision would prefer that we didn't table this for 2 more weeks.
Most of the issues that we have with our system, no,
Uh-huh.
that's not what I wanted.
Or
Have to do
surrounding
with
Zoom?
Yeah, so we,
Oh, okay.
and we can get to that
Okay.
later. Let's see.
Well,
if this-
while you look at that, let's talk about the sign. So, thoughts, anything, if you looked at the different requirements that it matches?
It looks like it meets the requirements.
Okay. Okay,
And
all right.
yeah.
So we can not take action on it, we can just discuss the next item if we want to.
We can't
Or-
really take action, can we, anyway?
No, we
So-
can't. That's what I'm saying.
just
So we
move
can,
on.
we can move on and discuss the next item and then come back if we want to. But unfortunately, the people who are needing to vote on it haven't heard anything about it. So we're kind of at a little pickle right now. So, Ross, can we meet in 2 weeks? I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, if he's not gonna be here,
So,
that's fine.
Troy, yeah, Troy said he'd be here in about
It-
a minute. He said 10 minutes, and that was 6:07.
Okay. Will you just verify, was he planning to actually get in his car and immediately leave? Or he was just saying, I can come if you need me?
No, he said I'll be there in 10 minutes,
Okay,
and that was about.
all right, then we will wait. Okay, so maybe, is it beneficial for us to start discussing the next item, or should we just sit here on this item?
Yeah, it might be beneficial just to.
Get, the 3 of us could at least get caught up, and then we could address Troy's.
Unless any other questions on the sign, if not, we can.
I don't have any other questions.
If you'll look to just, this number 6, the color, size, number, lighting, and placement of business and commercial signs is subject to approval by the planning commission. Since it requires that stuff to work with the historic district, so if you have any
Right.
concerns or issues, you know, we have the
we've listed metal as one of the approved types of substances. I think this looks a little stark and flat personally, but I don't know that I would say that it, can we see what the other, I guess we don't have a collection of what the other signs look like to see how it blends in. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a collection on those ready to be displayed, but.
Well, I don't know. I have some thoughts, but I think maybe saving them for when Troy is here because he's got to look at it as well.
Well, maybe you will improve on your thoughts the second time
Maybe,
around.
maybe, I don't know.
If you don't like the colors, you don't
No,
like
I just think it's just a flat, you know, it doesn't add, and it doesn't necessarily fit, you know, a lot of times we've tried to make them fit the
Which is what?
area.
Which is what?
I don't know, that's the problem.
That's been the argument every time. It's been a problem.
Well, and the signs that are already there, different colors and different lighting and things like that, so. I don't want to say it looks cheap. It's
Oh.
probably the cheapest sign you can do. You got a piece of metal, you painted the words on it.
It is a pretty inexpensive sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I'm just like, and it looks like it. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Ethan's a sign expert, so,
I agree.
you know, does it add or distract from the area? Does it, you know, you look at the different things that they ask you about in the, let's look at the list up above. Okay. Just read through that and see if you think there's anything that,
I mean, the only thing we can object on is 6. I don't think
Yep.
there's anything else that we can object on,
yeah, I agree.
so.
And there's no lighting, and there's only one sign.
Yep.
You know, so it's just,
It's a sign.
Does the development not have CCNRs on the signage?
They don't, do they?
Probably not in a business.
Not that,
We-
he's just saying, you know, that particular business development,
Yeah, and
they
we,
don't have any, and they're owned, you know, so.
we couldn't do anything about those anyways, the city to,
Well, I know, but I'm
But
just
they would
saying
have to
they
apply,
have
they
their
might,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they would have to
Yeah.
apply to their own
colors.
HOA or whatever, yeah.
yeah. Yep, that's fair. So we can move on to the next one if you'd
Okay,
like. I don't-
let's do it, and we might as well be talking about it.
He should be here soon. Takes longer than 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm guessing.
exactly.
Yeah, the one that's
10
there
minutes
now
from
is pretty-
PG,
Mhm.
whatever. If you're going like 90 miles an hour and you run through red lights.
Okay, so this took me to the one we were just on. Right there. Okay, so this is if you remember back in November, and Ross is here too, he can jump in, to help clarify anything, but back in November, as a planning commission, you all approved the concept plan for this, Smooth Canyon subdivision. It's phase 2.
Yeah,
19 lots, 11.14 acres, from size .46 to .47, and it's approximately 1,000 south, 1,100
Mhm.
east. It's in the half-acre zone. That was approved. You had a public hearing last August, but anyway, it was approved. It was reviewed by the city council. In our current code for concept, the city council doesn't approve or any of that. They
Mhm.
just review it and give any feedback and thoughts that they have on it. So it went through and did all that. As you see, the end of November, the city council did that. In our code for the concept plan, it says if it's not, preliminary needs to be submitted within 180 days, so about
Mhm.
6 months. This one's gone past that 180 days, but it does allow, if you look in the city code, or in the Alpine City Code section, it says it can be resubmitted for reinstatement by the planning commission.
okay.
So that's what we're doing with this agenda item. if you look at the next one, the next agenda item is a preliminary subdivision review.
Mm-hmm.
So in our staff recommendations on this, we're saying obviously that's why we're here, because the 180 days have passed. As staff, as we reviewed this, there's been no significant changes made to the approved concept plan, except for the ones that were asked for by this body, and in reviewing that, we haven't had any. Hey, Troy's here. We haven't had any major changes to our code in regards to a concept plan or in this CR 20,000 zone. So based on that, staff is recommending that this reinstatement be approved for the concept, and then the preliminary can be reviewed. Obviously, we have a cop-out for staff here that says unless the planning commission finds a reason that this shouldn't be reinstated, but that's what we looked at as staff to compare that. We got a sample motion there. I included the last concept plan that was submitted with this.
When you say there weren't significant changes except the ones we requested, so once it passed city council, there have been no changes, or there have been
They
small
didn't-
changes?
They didn't, the city council didn't have any thoughts or feedback or anything that was significant on there. It was mainly just questions, where's the trail located, different things like
Okay,
that, so.
so nothing got changed from the last time we approved this?
Yeah.
There are 0 changes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure clear with like nothing significant. Does that mean there are little ones, or does that mean a
Yeah,
nice
you
way of
can-
saying there was nothing?
Yeah, and you can see that in the motion that was made here,
Uh-huh.
when this was approved, these were the
Yeah,
findings
I
that
remember
had there,
those.
so,
yeah.
yeah, any
Um,
changes had to do with those.
I have another question.
Yep.
How many times can you do a 6-month reinstatement? Because my concern is that things can change over time. And even though this hasn't changed, maybe impact to the area and things like that can change. So is there any kind of limit to, you can do a 6-month, and then can you wait another 6 months, do another 6 months? So you could be 5 years down the road, and the whole area might have changed, and we're still looking at the same plan.
Yeah, so that would be, I haven't seen anything that says there's a limit as far as how many times you can resubmit
Okay.
for,
We could just
that.
choose to do more review if it happens again or something.
yeah,
Okay,
and if you go back and look up at the code, there's no, like, if these conditions have been met or if these
Yeah.
standards have been met, but it does have the language, it says, no, maybe I didn't put that in here, but, it does say within that 6 months, next time they come up for reinstatement, the applicable, standards and laws that we have are what will apply. What we're trying to avoid is, yeah, like you said, somebody coming in, getting concept approval, 5 years later coming back.
Right.
We might have a whole different set of codes.
Exactly.
Saying, well,
or we
I
could
want
have
this.
even
Oh,
voted to
we-
change the master plan by then, or we could have done any number of
Yep.
things, and so
Yep.
that's my biggest thing, so.
Yep. So that, and that's why in the staff recommendation, we said we reviewed, has there been any significant changes to the code? Has there been any significant changes to the plan?
Okay.
We reviewed those just to make sure that
Yeah, I mean,
that
has
wasn't
the area
case.
burned down? I mean, there's all kinds of weird things that could have happened.
And if you did choose, and not necessarily in this one, but if there was one that came up, 5 years later and they wanted to, you could choose to say that's been too long.
We want you to do a full
We're gonna
review again.
deny-
We want you to
we're gonna
resubmit it.
Yeah,
Start
deny the
over.
reinstatement and then start over
Okay,
again.
Yeah, that was just more education for me,
Yep,
so thank you.
Yep, yep.
But Ross, do you mind sharing with us a time frame here, or is it unknown? I guess I'm gonna make you come to the microphone and state your name and address, sorry, by asking you a question.
Ross Welch, 201 Red Pine Drive. Yes, the plan is that we will move forward with this. There was a delay waiting to hear what was happening with the neighbors,
Okay,
with the city and that, and then it kind of got backburnered on our office, and so we said, let's get this thing going again, unaware that our 6-month time deadline had expired. So that's why we resubmitted with our preliminary plan. So the idea is, once we get the final plans, we'll start moving forward with the
okay.
development.
Yeah, I just kind of wondered if it was up on their priority list yet or not, so, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, questions for anyone? So basically, Troy, I think you probably caught the whole thing toward the end, but basically, 6 months went by, nothing's changed, we're looking at it again, so.
So what we need to do is reinstate the concept plan. Once we do that, the next item will be a review of the preliminary.
Okay, so that's why we have those 2 items back to back.
But, yeah, this is why this
Okay.
one's moved before the next
All
one.
right.
so.
Well, I'm ready to make a
Go
motion.
for it.
Okay. Well, I move to approve the reinstated concept application of Smooth Canyon Phase 2 as proposed.
We have a motion by Jeff Davis.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Ethan Allen. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that passes unanimously. And let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the preliminary for the Smooth Canyon subdivision.
Do you want to jump to this one first? Okay, so just to reiterate this, a lot of this will be the same, but this is for the preliminary from my end anyway, then Jed can take over on the engineering side. But again, Phase 2, Smooth Canyon, 19 lots, 11.14 acres. They meet our requirements for the CR 20,000 zone, which is where this is located, and they're seeking preliminary approval. This one is the one that borders Alpine and Highland. There's the road connection that will go through that's shown in our transportation master plan. And that's kind of been the topic of discussion here. Everything else meets code, frontage requirements, everything else there. And that's not to say that the road does not meet code, that's just the topic of discussion there. In the concept, we believe we've got that part figured out, and we should be good to go there. There's no public hearing with this. We did that in the concept one. We met that requirement back in August, and then again, this was approved on November 15th for the Planning Commission at concept, and then City Council reviewed it the following week after that. Minimum requirements for the zone, the smallest lot is this 20,007 square feet, 0.46 acres in size. And the lot width requirements meet the 110 feet per standard lot in the CR 20,000 zone. The proposed use is single-family dwellings, detached dwellings, so that's an allowed use, a permitted use in this zone. Shows that there's a planned trail connection through this property, but I believe that will be at the next phase when that one shows, but there is a proposed trail going through there.
Have we done, well, I guess if you don't mind, I'll interrupt just a second.
Yep.
We talked at one point about saying things that were public, like trails and things like that, needed to be done with the first phase when there were multiple phases. Did that ever go through, or have we just left it whenever the phase? Do you remember, Jed? That was kind of discussed at one point.
We did talk about that. I do, they're calling this Phase 2. If it was truly a phase development, they would show us the whole thing.
Right.
And we would get the plans for the whole thing at preliminary. They're calling it Phase 2 because Phase 1 was built 20 years ago.
Okay, so it's not really phase, it's the
Yeah.
second part.
Yes. So just the naming of this is kind of semantics. It's confusing.
Okay.
a bit, But,
And the trail does not, it has no involvement in this part.
correct.
Okay.
But you are right. If we would
Should
have.
probably help use different words then, because
Yeah, if
that
we
is
had
very
an
confusing.
overall plan for the whole thing and it truly was a phased thing,
Right.
we would require the trail in the first
Right,
phase.
okay, that's what I thought. So, yeah, just for the future, I think it'd be awesome if we didn't call it phase 2,
Yeah.
when it's not a
yeah.
phase development.
That's just what we see on all the,
I know.
on everything, so
You
that's
can
what
just
we're
tell them, please
it.
change it.
talking about that in other
Second.
ones,
It's fine.
All right,
but,
it's not a big deal, I just was confused.
yep, so I think that's everything that, I've got on the planning side of this. Yeah, everything we've gone over, so I'll turn over to Jed and he can touch
So I
base on the
can bore you
engineering
on the
side.
engineering stuff, so.
Oh, bore us. Jeff Davis has been waiting for
Oh,
this.
Jeff loves
Bring out the engineering.
stuff. So at the concept level, we kind of hashed out the road alignment. But when it comes to preliminary, that's when we get into the nitty-gritty of the slopes and grades and all that kind of stuff. And this property does have a challenge where it's a very flat piece of property. And our code does require a 1% minimum grade on roads, and that's for drainage. The grades that they have proposed are between 0.66 and 0.94%. The one road that's 0.94, that is the one that connects from the current High Bench Road to Park Drive in Highland. And that is two hard physical points they're connecting to. There's no option to change that. It's 0.94. And then the roads stubbing out are the ones that are they are stubbing from a physical constraint up to native existing ground. So they also kind of have a constraint there. And so prior to our code having the 1% minimum grade, which we changed that in about 2020, we changed about 3 years ago. It wasn't written anywhere, but it was standard for staff to not allow anything go below 0.5. So where they're still above the 0.5 and considering their physical constraints, we would be in support of an exception to the road grades for this proposal, to leave them at what they have proposed them at. Moving on, as mentioned earlier, the street connection at Highland and Park Drive was a highly debated topic of concern at concept. And I left all of the concept notes in the staff report just for reference, but we're not gonna go over that again. As far as utilities go, in general, all the utilities, or the area, it can be served by all of our utilities. There are main lines in High Bench Road that can all be connected to, and the city can serve this area. Horrocks engineers did their usual analysis and checked their proposal with our master plans, and everything fits well within the master plan. The only thing they noted is that this area would have minimum fire pressures of 1,750 gallons a minute at 20 PSI, that's for fire flow. That's the minimum required by code, and at minimum fire pressure, you can only have a 4,800 square foot house without fire sprinklers, and with fire sprinklers, you can have a 9,600 square foot house. And so that's something the developer should consider, and we can talk about it later. You may wanna upsize the lines, because I haven't seen too many 4,800 square foot houses lately in Alpine. But as proposed, it fits. It fits our code. It's just something to consider. So we can talk about that with the developer, but like I said.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, come on, you can.
Come on up.
Just curious, just upsizing the line would be sufficient, you think?
Potentially. Usually that does bump it up. Sometimes you have to do some kind of other offsite improvement, but we'll have to have Horrocks model the situation and just see what it takes to get more pressure, more fire flow in the area. So,
Yeah, just upsizing the pipe's not necessarily gonna get you there.
yeah, sometimes it does, sometimes it
Depending on the
doesn't.
slope and.
Yep, so we'll look at that.
But if you wanted to pressurize it, you
If
don't
you-
wanna take that on as a city, do you?
No, that,
That's another headache.
oh yeah,
So it's either
We've
upsize.
already, it meets the development code, it meets the code.
Right.
It's just if someone chooses to build a massive house, they need, well, not massive, but whatever you consider.
yeah.
Bigger than 4,800 square feet, they have to have sprinklers.
And the definition of 48, is that above or total?
Above
Sorry.
ground,
Above ground, or does that include the?
No,
Total.
that's total livable
Yeah,
area.
I think
Yeah.
it's total.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be passed off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with stuff like that, leaving restrictions on that, is that then you end up with people, consumers, who purchase a lot,
On the
not knowing
assumption.
that. And I don't like to have lots that have restrictions that aren't so obvious, you know what I mean? And so I think that creates a problem, just my thoughts.
So we'll look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically you just have to model and say, if I get in a bigger pipe, can I still maintain those
Yeah.
pressures?
Yep.
And it may work.
So would that possibly work on the first half but not the back half?
It totally depends. For example, the Rigid Alpine, the lots in the very northern part of that development had this same problem. And they installed a 16-inch water line in Grove Drive, I can't remember exactly how far it was, but it was an off-site water line. And then they installed a 12-inch water line from the boundary of their development up to that higher end, and that got them their higher fire flows.
Yeah.
And that may be an extreme example because there's a lot of elevation on that development. Where this development's super flat, you may get lucky with just doing a bigger pipe size in the development. We just have to model it to know. So, but yeah, we'll look at that. As far as, so that's culinary water. The rest of this staff report is honestly kind of boilerplate because it all meets and fits our ordinance. They're showing new laterals to every lot for PI, culinary. The stormwater is taken care of via sumps in this area. As you know, it's kind of on top of a gravel pit, so they're taking advantage of the good percolation rates they're getting in that area. So the stormwater system's actually very simple and it works. Other than that, the geotech report did not have any items that stood out, so there were no hazards to be reported on. As far as hazard reports go, the development doesn't fall within the geologic hazard overlay zone, and so they were not required to get hazard reports done. And that's all I've got on this one. So we've got findings for a positive motion, or findings to motion or table. We would require, or this would require an exception to the minimum street grades as shown in the staff report on the next page there.
Yeah.
What are your red lines?
Oh, the red lines, it's usually just simple things like typos and
Oh,
like that. It's nothing. If it's worth mentioning, I
Okay.
mention it, so.
okay. So I have concerns about the grade. Why did we change it to 1% if we think 0.5 is sufficient?
So 0.5 is very difficult to construct, and you usually end up with water, we call them pools, what do we call them, bird baths.
Right.
We end up with little dips
Yeah.
in the curb. So it will flow theoretically if you build it perfectly at 0.5%.
It's just hard to get that grade.
Right, yeah.
And so that's why we recommended raising it to 1%.
Mm-hmm.
If we raised it to 1% for this particular development,
Mm-hmm.
instead of having a road that has a nice even grade up to natural ground, they'll
Right.
come up 1% and then dip back down
Uh-huh.
1%. So you'll have a road that kind of does this.
Uh-huh.
So that's why we're recommending
Is
they
there-
get it.
And are there other options, like, we've seen such strange weather, like in Draper this year, for example, they're like, oh, it's the 100-year storm, and they're like, no, this is the 500-year storm. And I'm just wondering, if it's lower, do we have more drains, more storm drainage, or like, what mitigates that? You don't think there's anything that we need to mitigate other than that the road wouldn't have looked nice?
It's not that it just looks nice.
I know, but you have puddles, which causes damage, which freezes, which blah, blah. So why would we not have that? If we're going with this
So-
lower grade, then we're building a higher risk road for
You have-
damage.
No, we're not building a higher risk. I would actually say a higher risk road would be the one that has a
Uh-huh.
bunch of bellies and dips in
Uh-huh.
it, because now you have a whole bunch of low points that can
That don't
potentially
drain.
Uh-huh.
plug.
It can't just be one, it has to be 1% the whole way? It can't just
Couldn't
be,
be 1% the whole way in this
Right,
particular
okay.
instance, because you would end up about
Right.
3 feet out of the ground at
Right.
the edge of the
Yeah.
development.
yeah,
So leaving it at a constant slope,
Okay.
in my opinion, is actually a safer design, because
Okay.
now you only have one low point to worry about,
right,
and that's before it exits the development.
okay. Okay, that's
They
kind of,
could redesign it and have it come up and then come down.
well, are there any other designs where it's like from left to right? I mean, I don't know as much about water drainage as like Jeff does, but are there other things that, as far as, do you know what I'm saying? Not,
Like slope the whole road one way or the other.
I don't know, like, those slopes are pretty minor, right, that you're talking about? I mean, do we ever do anything like that to mitigate if you were building in a super flat area? What do people do to mitigate that problem?
Look at a church parking lot. They're a good example of,
Mhm.
because they want to have one big constant flat area, but they end up, pretend like it's a big net.
Mm-hmm,
They end up pulling down points,
mm-hmm,
and so you have
yeah,
all these little low
Right,
points around the
right.
parking lot. That's essentially what the road would look
Yeah.
like if we,
Did the 1% slope, yeah, okay, that helps. All right,
so I would recommend
keeping it.
keeping it all
Mhm.
nice, one even grade, and not having all these low points that would
Right.
potentially plug. We'll still have catch basins catching water along the way.
Right,
They just won't be a low point.
okay,
The less low points, the better, in
Okay.
my opinion.
that's good. I mean, I always want to know why we change an ordinance and then immediately do a exception to it. So, like, there must be some reason we thought it was good to begin with, so
Yeah.
this is one of the examples where it's good most of the time, but there needs to be an exception. Okay. All right, sorry, I've asked my questions. You guys go ahead. I think there was one other one, but. Questions? Anything you guys want to ask? Jeff, anything?
I guess the only thing that ever worries me is when you're on a gravel pit, is that more potential to slide than a non-touch surface?
If it was, the geotech report would have,
Would notate it?
yeah.
Okay.
It probably drains better and probably has less, I think water retention is the problem, but I don't know. Jeff Davis
Yeah,
might
and
know.
this is back away.
We're a ways back, so.
Yeah. Can you scroll down a little bit? My computer wouldn't bring up the agenda today. I just wanted to see is this the end of where we have looked at? Oh, can you go back up then? There was one other item that I had a question on, and I was trying really hard not to talk in the middle of it. Okay, can you go up a little bit more? Keep going. All right. Okay, I think that must have been it. Oh, my other thing was the PSI, and we already talked about that.
And
Like I said, I really dislike the idea of having lots that require a purchaser to know something outside of the ordinary, because they don't, I was wondering if you could ever like record things like that when you record the lot, or something, so that somebody actually has knowledge of it for sure,
We
so
would definitely put it on the plat.
I would, yeah.
so,
I
all-
would like it to be brought up to the right PSI, but, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, all stormwater is gonna be retained, huh?
Mhm.
Doubtful.
And I want to correct you, it actually is at the correct PSI right now. It meets ordinance.
Right.
It's just
No, I
that
understand.
today's current building,
Yeah, I understand. So
standard.
we can't require it unless, right, that makes sense. I would hope that the developers would like it to be so that their people can build whatever size home they choose. Are these half-acre lots? Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah. Okay.
And we'll probably actually be doing most of the building on this, but
Mhm.
yeah, it is a concern.
Yeah.
We will deal with it. And by the way.
Come on up, Ross. I know.
Also,
Marla's
just
gonna
a
have
little
to-
FYI too, on a disclosure when we're selling to someone, we have to give this information, otherwise they could come back at us.
Okay.
And so, for our own protection, we want to
You
make sure they
disclose it.
and they have to sign a document and these kind of
Okay.
things. And having farmed up there, I don't think that water's gonna go so fast down that way.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
does, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It goes through the ground real quick.
It does.
Okay, any other questions, concerns, emotional outbursts? Anything else
I think
anyone
that was-
wants to say?
Yeah, no.
All right. Okay, so if there are no other questions, we'll take a motion.
Okay, I can make a motion. I move to approve the preliminary application of the Smooth Canyon Phase 2, as stated.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Ethan Allen and a second by Troy Slade. I think in the motion, do we need to state that we're making an exception and,
yeah,
Yeah, we
What-
should.
Oh, the exception to the grade?
Yeah.
the
right, and
motion.
also to correct the
Staff
red
report.
lines and,
Okay,
the staff report motion, just says with the exception, it has the exception.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you just need to.
So let me add to that we will, with an exception on the grading as noted in the staff report and the red lines as noted in the staff report as well.
Okay, so addition to the motion, do you accept that addition, Troy? Okay, so Troy Slade accepts the addition to the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Build away.
So
Okay.
we'll see plans in less than 6 months.
Fingers crossed.
Well, let's hope.
We'll see.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Thanks,
All
Ross.
right.
Well, thanks for making the effort to be here.
Yeah, that was really kind of you. Both, Alan did the same
Totally
thing.
apologize.
No.
Yeah, you and Alan are.
Hey, this is the first time, okay? We get one.
You do.
I have actually done the exact same thing
I've
before.
missed one or two.
We're sitting there at Taco Amigo just,
Taco amigo, having tacos.
yeah.
All right, let's take a look at this commercial sign again.
Yeah,
So we
just-
looked at this earlier, Troy, but we wanted you to be
Okay.
able to see it.
Thank you.
And just for everyone's clarification too, the Smooth Canyon, we'll just call it Smooth Canyon. They will have to come back here for a final first. They don't have to go to city council for
That's all.
approval on the preliminary. They'll stay here, or they'll come back for the
Yeah.
final.
Okay.
So, yeah, just to touch base on this one again, we got a building, commercial building sign. This is the first one we've done since the changes that we had, so you guys are now the approving body. I forgot to, if we need a moment of celebration on that or whatever you need to do for that, we can take that into consideration. But, we have, I believe it's about 11 standards that we have in there. I took out any that have to deal with, freestanding lighting, cloth awning signs, just because none of that applies to this. So these are the 6 that we were left with, so for our standards of review there. As staff, we went and reviewed this. We found it to be in compliance with those. And again, the staff recommendation is if Planning Commission also believes that's in compliance with those as they review this, we would recommend approval of this sign. If not, we can make changes or recommend changes and or table it with conditions to make certain changes. We can kind of see the sign here. It's on the building as a rendering there, and then the dimensions there. Any questions or anything on this one?
Do you think that it would be unreasonable to request a different color of metal that actually matches?
Where you have if number 6 there, the color, that's the first one.
Okay.
I
So-
think it would be a reasonable
I
thing to
think,
do.
I think my problem with this is it's just such a stark, like if you scroll down and look at the photo, because they're choosing to do a flat sign and not just the letters, with lighting around it, if you look at the lighting or the light fixtures underneath it that are the brass tone and stuff, I don't know. I just think it would look a lot better aesthetically with the building if it had some type of a tan or a bronze or something to it that wasn't so stark.
I agree
You're a
with,
sign guy.
I agree with you.
You
I
agree with
think
me?
that
Okay.
it looks very stark,
Yeah.
and it looks like,
And we don't want, we
It's the
we've
minimum.
let people use sign colors, we've let people do, things like that, but I think at some point it starts to take away, I don't mind the color, but just the flat color.
Farm?
we didn't approve
We
that.
don't want, yeah, we didn't approve that.
We wouldn't approve that
We're
today.
getting away from that, that's the whole point.
That's an argument in our favor.
Exactly. I don't know.
So
Because we're saying no.
If that is a change that you guys would like to have there, you can table it and say we need to come back with this, or as part of the approval, you can say with the condition that this background sign
Uh-huh.
or the background be changed to whatever
Right.
to.
But if we do that, we won't be able to actually see it.
Right.
before
right.
we
You
approve
just
it.
have to say, is it to meet current standards in our Gateway
Then
Historic?
I think tabling
we
it
can do
might be
that,
good,
so-
So,
they have to
okay,
come back.
so, I guess we did the same thing with Montebello, right?
Right.
We sent it back and
Yeah.
come back and give us something.
And we did the same with the lighting.
That fits in our historic
Right.
district.
Yeah, and with the sign, the one sign, they actually in the meeting changed it to have the
Right, it was the Crandall printing
the
press,
lights
or-
that came down,
printing.
I don't think it's unreasonable. And a sign going up or not doesn't make you stop or start business. And we will be back here in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
They can still put up their door decal.
Right.
Yeah,
right? We don't
And they
care
can
about
put up a
that.
temporary vinyl if they want to out front and things like that. I don't think it's gonna slow their business down, but even if it does, this is permanent.
Yeah,
So
It's-
what are we recommending?
But you don't have to agree with me, but
I agree with you.
I think we should, personally, I like the idea of tabling it so we can actually see what they come back with. But we can make the recommendation, but then we just have to trust that they did what we said. And,
Oh,
So-
you don't think we can make a recommendation and say, come back?
yeah, we can just table it with and have Ryan let them know that this was their suggestion,
Okay.
is that they think this is too stark.
Okay.
unless you had
Tone
a,
it down a little bit.
unless you
Right.
had a specific,
You're on a neutral building. This isn't even on a white brick. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's just,
and if you had a specific, you know, we think it needs to be this
mhm.
color background, then I would say you're fair to approve it and just say it needs, but if you want to.
I don't mind them being creative with their ideas on color and thing. I just think this is,
yeah. But I
I do
think,
agree that it is like not anything to do with that building's front.
right.
And you're talking about the
That flat
Steel.
metal
Right.
plate
steel, flat metal.
Yeah.
on top of a stucco building
Okay,
doesn't seem
With
to me
river
to
rock.
fit very, and river rock, right? It just doesn't,
okay.
it doesn't seem to match.
This doesn't have the modern architecture that, yeah. Anyway, somebody so we can do two things. We can table it with our suggestions that Ryan will give to them and ask them to come back in a couple weeks with something that's more in the neutral tones, light brass, light bronze, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or we can
Deny?
deny it,
Yeah.
and then they'd have to come back anyway.
Yeah.
But it makes people feel better when you table it. So It's
It sounds nice.
a little more warm and fuzzy.
We-
Or
if we-
you can approve it with the exception, with the
Condition.
condition that they change the color of the metal to be a neutral
I don't
tone,
like that
tan
idea.
tone.
Yeah,
But
'cause
if
then we
you
won't
do
get to
that,
see it.
you won't see
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, that's not an option.
No,
All
I
right,
wanna see
okay,
it.
so anyway, so we need a motion.
Okay.
If they just, come back with some
Okay,
ideas.
I'll make a motion that the application for the Well Pass Center located at 40 West Main Street, Suite 100, be tabled, and that it can be reinstated with better color application, that the metal proposed is too generic compared to the tones on the building, so we need something that matches that better.
Okay, we have a motion by Ethan Allen. Do we have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Jeff Davis. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously.
Yep, I'll reach out to him, let him know.
Okay,
And
thank
that
you.
we went the route of not just out denying it.
Right.
Yeah, we just
Gave them
Didn't
some
want to be
Give
Give them
mean.
some direction.
And
I'll
if
let 'em
they want to come
Kindness.
back next time with a sample of the metals to show us, you know, if they really feel strongly that that metal is it, they could come back with two options or something and we can see it. Having to go off a rendering like that is tough, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
doesn't look good from what I
We
see.
we want something that matches better with the building, more
Yes,
tan-ish. Okay.
yes, more
Uh,
like,
it-
that building is all earth tones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to,
And their blue doesn't need to be an earth tone, but when you have that,
yeah.
That fits our historic,
it fits the it fits the
historic.
nature, whatever.
And
Be quiet over there, Jeff.
Motions are great, but sometimes you have to go into more of an explanation, so
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify there, so.
Okay, communication.
Yep, I just have two real quick.
It better be one that I'm gonna bring up. I am
Well, the
fed,
same one that we
I am
did?
fed up.
We did just have a meeting about that earlier today, so, just two real quick. Couple, gosh, it seemed like a month ago, we met about the Lambert Park Conservation easement and management plan.
Yep.
It was supposed to be, the original plan was to have it be heard on, August 22nd.
Yeah.
No, we barely had enough for a quorum there. So we didn't feel like, and I say we, the city council didn't feel like they should hold that public
They need
hearing with
their
so
full
many
quorum
gone, and
there.
then, yeah, so they tabled that, they didn't, well, it wasn't even on the agenda, so it'll be on,
Next
September
week's.
12th, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
which is weird, we're already in September, but September 12th, they'll have a public hearing on the easement and the plan, just like, not necessarily in that order, but
Okay.
just like we did here, and then they will make a decision on the 26th.
Okay.
So there'll be some time there. I've got our minutes, I've got everything from when we discussed that. But if you feel strongly or want some additional feedback in there, I'd be happy to add anything you'd like to add. Shoot me an email, or yeah, that's probably the best way to shoot me an email with any other thoughts or anything that
Feel
you
like
want
need to
to
be
express.
represented.
Yep,
Okay.
so we're taking emails right now the city council is getting, and then there's some that we get as staff, and we'll include those in the
Oh,
packet for
oh,
as part of the
oh,
public
those
hearing.
emails will be included.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. So we'll do that, so let me know anything on that. And then just an update on Zoom that we were just kind of talking about earlier. Most of the issues we have with the software, the hardware that we're using here, stem from an issue with the Zoom and how it just doesn't sometimes play nice with our software. That doesn't mean we can't use Zoom, we can't, but in the future, we're going to, as we send out the packet, that's one of the things we'll ask, let us know if you need a Zoom link.
Okay.
Which we will happily figure that out, but sometimes we go through all this effort and delay a meeting
Yeah.
for Zoom to work and nobody's on Zoom.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
we'll do that as requests moving forward.
Going into winter, as long as we have that as an option, I
Yeah.
think it's a good option.
Yeah, and it'll
because we're
always
going
be-
into cold and flu season, and we
Yep.
have other things, and it keeps the agenda items
And
moving
it'll
forward.
always be an option. We don't, the public can view the meetings on YouTube.
Right.
So we
And they
don't
don't
offer
participate off
Zoom.
Zoom anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll offer that to you all. If you need it, then we can do that. But if you'll let me know just as soon as you can
Yeah.
on Friday, I can create a meeting and,
So
Okay.
I know I
You
won't be
go in there.
here, I won't be in town next meeting,
okay,
I'm in Kansas City, so.
okay.
On the-
Yeah, if
on the
you'd
ninth?
like a Zoom link, we can do
So
that.
I don't know, I'll have to see if I'm available.
Yeah, that's fair too.
If you're
But
needed
yep,
for a quorum or different things
Yeah.
like that,
and
can
we can
play
do that as
into it.
well, so,
Okay.
yep.
All right,
Those are the only things. I will update, and this is I'm just taking a shot in the dark of what Jeff wants to talk about here, but, we did
Oh,
meet
gee.
today. We've been in correspondence with the guy that runs the
Mhm.
produce stand about putting up no parking signs. As of last Thursday, when I went and checked, they were still not up, but we are still working to
as
try
of
to get
today,
those
they're
up.
still not up.
Were they not up today? I haven't
No,
had a chance to go up
heavens, no.
today. So we met today with our city attorney and with the mayor,
Mhm.
and that was one of the things we discussed, so,
New no parking signs during winter.
Well, those have been there
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, those have been there
Yeah.
for quite a while.
so we're gonna ask that they
State does
put
those.
them along so not on the same side of the street as the produce
Right.
stand, but the opposite side.
Yeah,
We've also discussed as a city, just going and painting it red, so that's,
we talked
That's
about
something
that,
to
but
look-
they said that we couldn't do it because it was a state-owned road, and so they
Yeah.
were supposed to ask permission to do it. That
Yeah,
was our
and-
direction to
Yeah.
them.
well, and so the motion that we have, it says you can either paint the curb red or put up no parking signs. And in reaching out, he said, well, we're gonna
Yeah.
do the no parking signs, but we haven't seen
And-
those yet, so.
And what I don't understand is why has it taken,
Yeah.
this is like over 2 months of us asking for this now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand, like, what is the communication problem? Do they ignore you, or have we not successfully connected with the person?
No, we
What-
have, yeah, so
So
we've,
at what point are we issuing a penalty or taking away their permit?
and that
'Cause
was our
this is
discussion
excessive.
today, is at what point do we say, okay, we've tried to work with you, but
Yeah.
it's not working. So that was our discussion
Literally a
today.
30-minute job someone could do.
Yeah,
I was like looking at all the orange cones around town thinking, why not just go steal some from the
steal some of
city and
those.
stick them down
Yeah.
there? I mean, how hard is that?
yeah.
And it's been way worse than last year.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, so the,
People running across the highway
Depending on the time of day that you're there,
from
it's
5
just.
o'clock to 8 o'clock.
It's
they're
I-
running
scary.
across the highway.
One of the
I think all of us
reasons
had near misses.
that I also am concerned is I looked back there, I didn't pull back behind the building, but I looked back there, and that new house is literally in the parking lot that they had.
that's why there's so much more spilling out. is
Right,
because
because the
they've
parking lot
lost
is
a good-
gone, there's a house
uh,
there, there's no
yeah.
parking.
Yeah,
And so it,
Well, there's 2 times I went last week, or the week before, and there was only 1 car parked in the back.
yeah.
1 car.
There's room for more than parks there, absolutely, so. Okay, well, that's
Well-
great, I just, it's very disappointing that someone who came in has asked for an exception and everything, and we've gone out of our way, felt like it's a integral part of the community, wanting to have a fruit stand in our community. We were liberal with the application of what a fruit stand definition was really for them. It's really disappointing that they are disregarding the safety of our citizens
Yes.
in the way that they are. It's
yeah.
unacceptable.
And I do think, and I'm not you know, I think they had signs that said, please park around back. I kind of
One,
think in their, yeah, in their,
One
in their
little
mind,
sign
their
like you
mind, that
do
was
for-
meeting what we'd asked. So we are,
no,
but yeah, we have been working and
Okay.
saying, at
There-
what point do we say,
yeah.
what
And-
point?
Not to be, derogatory, but there's no way in their mind that they think that sign meets what we ask. We were
Yeah.
very specific.
Well, and I'm not saying that they would meet that. I think they're saying by putting that up, that's sufficient to.
Yeah,
What
no,
it-
because we very specifically
My-
gave directions of paint or signs.
In my mind, it says, please, in my mind, it says, please park round back. If I see please park round back, it's, I don't have to park round back, I can,
Yeah,
so we asked for no parking,
Yeah.
specifically, so.
okay,
Dawn and I, the code enforcement officer, are gonna meet later
Yeah.
this week and say what,
okay.
at what point do we say? Which,
Yeah,
that was our
it's-
meeting
it-
today.
It really is so disappointing and really makes me question their commitment to our community as much as we are committed to helping them.
Yes.
They told us that to have the little fruit stand done before the season started. I remember that, before the season started, it would
Or
be done.
they were gonna move the little house or
Yeah.
the little shack over there so they could do it. So anyway, either way, it's,
Yeah.
appreciate you guys working on it. I have a really hard time. I'm kind of a get things done person at both work and sometimes at home and church and other places, so it's a little fault of mine that I like to get things done. I have a really hard time seeing why that could not possibly have been done without someone intentionally ignoring requests.
Yeah, it's intentional. It's like.
It is, at this point it is.
People are not gonna be able to come here.
Either that or I don't care what you think.
So, no, we are working on it, we are
Okay.
moving toward it, there's a lot of moving parts, so. If it- Like I said,
There
it's not
shouldn't be a
just
lot of
me.
moving parts. There should be
Well,
one
that's part
moving
of-
part, a
that's-
sign to the
that's
road.
Part of the city, though.
Yeah,
You
I
it's
know,
not-
I
we're not-
know.
We're not just letting them do whatever they want,
I
it's part of the city,
know, I know.
so.
I'm not faulting you guys.
So,
I understand.
Those are the only
It's just-
communications we had, though, so that's.
Okay,
we'll be-
thank you. Appreciate it. We won't beat that horse to death any more than we already have. We're on its second or third death now. All right, Planning Commission meeting minutes. We need to approve the minutes from August 15th, was it, or something like that? Yep, August 15th, so. I need a motion.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the planning commission minutes from August 15th, 2023, as provided in our packet.
We have a motion by Jeff Davis and a second by Ethan Allen. Are there any comments on the motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. We need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Ethan Allen, second by
I'll second it.
Jeff Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
To do this, just for fun. Meeting ends.
Hour and 5.